This is the terrorist who they just took sanctions off of. This is the UN rapporteur on Israel and Palestine, and they just imposed sanctions on her. There's a woman who works for the UN, and her whole job is to give reports on what's happening with Israel-Palestine. That's her whole job. And so she gave out this report recently about how Google, Apple, Amazon are all making huge profits off of genocide in Gaza. And again, that's up to you to decide how you define genocide. But it definitely, it's the definition of what a genocide is that was agreed to at the after World War II, after the Holocaust. So this is the woman, Francesca Albanese, and she's doing great work. She's certainly sticking her neck out. And what did they do to her? Because she wrote that report? Well, that's just one of the things. That was like the straw that broke the camel's back when she wrote this report. And the Google founder called the UN transparently anti-Semitic because she told the truth about the profit people are making. So Marco Rubio put sanctions on her. So that means Trump, because he works for Trump. So they literally sanctioned her. Today I'm imposing sanctions on UN Human Rights Council Special Rapporteur. I didn't know you could sanction a person, but they're putting you know how they put sanctions on a country, which is a bad idea, and because it weaponizes the dollar. Well, they're putting sanctions on a person, and it's that Francesca Albanese for her illegitimate and shameful efforts to prompt the International Criminal Court action against U.S. and Israeli officials, companies, and executives. So they've had enough. So they've had enough of her doing her job. That's her job.
Yeah.
And so I guess they're not going to sanction the International Criminal Court, which actually put out a warrant for Benjamin Netanyahu's arrest for war crimes. But they'll go after the UN person who told you. So again, it's this adult children of alcoholics. They're not angry at the person abusing you. They're angry at the person who told you that you're being abused. And that's what Francesca Albanese did. Her campaign of political and economic warfare against the United States and Israel will no longer be tolerated. We will always stand by our partners in their right to self-defense. The United States. So they call what they're doing every time Israel attacks someone, they call it self-defense. Like when they turned Gaza into a concentration camp, which is called an occupied territory, because that's against the UN, that's against the international law. And so the people who have a right to self-defense would be the Palestinians in that situation. They have a right they have an actual right under UN's charters and international law to use violence to fight back against Israel because they're being occupied illegally by Israel. And almost nobody disputes that they're being occupied illegally, except, of course, the United States and Israel. The United States, so that's the irony there of that statement, that we will always stand by our partners in their right to self-defense. Israel was not doing self-defense when they bombed Syria. They weren't doing self-defense when they bombed Iran. They weren't doing self-defense so they're not doing self-defense when they're slaughtering people in Palestine. The United States will continue to take whatever action we deem necessary to respond to lawfare and protect our sovereignty and that of our allies. So he doesn't just get it wrong. He digs in his heels, puts on his cabaret makeup, and he gives these bitches a show. That's what he's doing. He's going. So he says, I like how he says the United States and Israel. That got to be a typo, because that should read the United States of Israel. So he's trying to make desperate damage control look like an official application of policy. Always framing it like, hey, we've had enough. Guess what, Marco? You don't speak for most of us. You defend people with no bottom to what they're capable of, and that's what he's doing. And here's how people responded to that. Craig Molkeber said, I don't know how you pronounce his last name. He says, "This is lawless, vile act, Rubio. Your arrogance will catch up to you. The impunity that you are enjoying now will be gone within a few years, and I am confident that you will be held accountable for your persecution of human rights defenders and for your violation of international law. You are a national disgrace," says our friend Mel, the village crazy lady. Someone who kills kids will do anything to anyone. So just keep that in mind. And here it is. So Tiberius tweets out, "Marco Rubio, we all know that you're paid by Zionists to betray humanity and support their Nazi genocide. But the more you show yourselves, the more the world will pull away from the U.S. regime and the weaker you'll become. Carry on." That is exactly what's happening. As we have another story I'll show you today, after I remind you that I'll see you this weekend, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday in Toronto, Red Bank, New Jersey, Northampton, Massachusetts, and Concord, New Hampshire. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for ticket. But there's like a group of, I don't know, what is it, 40, 60, 80 countries coming together to call out what's happening in Palestine. Finally, that's starting to happen. They're coming together in an organized way. So here's Marco Rubio. That's where he's owned by the AIPAC lobby. That's
Jimmy,
yeah.
So Marco Rubio, another thing he's owned by, because that's really not that much money in the grand scheme of things for years of service to Israel. He's not just that. He's a puppet. His nickname in Florida was Narco Rubio because his brother-in-law is a major drug trafficker. So if he's where he's at now, and that's where he started, then that means he's plugged into much worse things than just Israel. That's just one small part of the money that he gets.
Yeah, and by the way, he lived with his brother, didn't he? Wasn't that the problem? He lived with his brother-in-law while he was doing the drug dealing, so it wasn't like he could claim ignorance. That was the thing, right? But
that's how George H.W. Bush brought cocaine purposely in the country, and we all know it, but we just move on for some reason.
So
these people are part of a cartel.
Yes, and so that's the perfect guy to, by the way, to get into politics because he's already compromised and you already have blackmail on him, and that's the perfect guy to move up the chain and become a senator and now to become a secretary of state because they're completely controlled.
Yeah.
That's why. Marco Rubio never had an original thought in his head, ever. It's all been planted there by his handlers and his donors.
Yeah.
Yeah. Chris Manahan says, flashback. Here's when an Israeli politician diplomat, Danny Danan, at JNS conference in April in Israel, orders the Trump administration to sanction Francesca Albanese. You want to hear it?
And now we have President Trump, and we are very optimistic. I think the first thing that should be done is to apply personal sanctions against some of the bad actors in the international arena. I'll give you an example. I don't know if you heard about Francesca Albanese. You can boo her. You can. And I think the U.S. and many here in the crowd are from the U.S. The U.S. should apply sanctions against her. She shouldn't be allowed entering the United States of America. She comes once a month to promote hate, to go to the universities. And, she compared our prime minister.
So not that there should be sanctions against Benjamin Netanyahu, who's literally pulling off a genocide while bombing 5 different countries at once in wars of aggression. Not that guy who's got a warrant out for him from the international criminal. Not that guy. Not that guy who every human rights organization says is running an apartheid state. No, he shouldn't be sanctioned. It should be the person who told you about him.
Yeah. And also, Jimmy, this is canceling. By the way, the woke right is Zionist.
Yeah.
People don't understand that it's Zionist.
Yes.
I got arguing with somebody about this. Who's like, no, they try to make it populist, but it's not.
No, it's not. It's the Zionists are
canceling.
Yes.
You're canceling someone for doing their job.
Yes.
That's what that is.
And you're canceling someone for having an opinion and for using words. You're canceling them. So he's got more to say.
Netanyahu to Hitler. And she compared your president to horrible leaders. That's unacceptable. And I expect the new administration to be stronger on this issue.
So it's unacceptable to compare Benjamin Netanyahu to Hitler, but it's not unacceptable to legitimately, on purpose, starve millions of people for months on end and brag about it and then shoot them when they come to get the aid that you've provided for them. That's acceptable.
Well, you know what, Jimmy? It's unfair to compare Israel and Netanyahu to Hitler because, let's face it, American oligarchs only funded Hitler for like the war.
That's right.
We've been funding Israel and their crimes for 80 years.
That's
so
right.
maybe that's what he means.
So Craig is back, and he says, International Criminal Court fugitive Benjamin Netanyahu, indicted for crimes against humanity, is now in Washington meeting with his co-perpetrator, Donald Trump. Rome Statute parties in Europe that have provided the fugitive safe passage through their airspace have breached their legal obligations under the treaty, have declared their disdain for the victims of genocide, and have demonstrated their contempt for the rule of law. So everybody who's signed on to the treaty of the International Criminal Court, they're now obligated to arrest Benjamin Netanyahu, but none of them are doing that, and they're allowing him to freely fly through their airspace. And so, of course, this whole idea that there's some kind of rules-based order, there's no rules. The order is whatever the United States says. That's the order.
As dictated by Israel, Britain through Israel to America. We're a Raj state like India.
And here's what Francesca herself, she tweeted out, the governments of Italy, France, and Greece must explain why they provided airspace and safe passage to the ICC wanted Benjamin Netanyahu, whom they are obligated to arrest. Italian, French, and Greek citizens deserve to know that every political action violating the international legal order weakens and endangers all of them and all of us. So she's 100% right. Trita Parsi says the man below. So get this. So this guy here, the man below, is the founder of Al Qaeda in Syria. Right. That guy. The U.S. just took him off their terror list and lifted their sanctions on him because he's now the leader of Syria. The guy who is the founder of Al Qaeda. And as we predicted at this show, if you got rid of Assad, then Al Qaeda would take over. Jihadist terrorists who attacked us on 9/11, they're going to take over. They took over. And guess what? Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu and everybody was like, oh, no, he's our friend. It's almost like they were always working for us. It's almost like ISIS and Al Qaeda were always working for the United States and Israel. It's almost like that, isn't that?
I guess Islam's not taking over the West.
I guess
it's all going according to plan. You absolute imbeciles that say that where Muslims are taking over. Yo, take that shit worked back in like 2000.
Yeah,
that shit don't work no more. Stupid.
So. This is the terrorist who they just took sanctions off of. This is the UN rapporteur on Israel and Palestine, and they just imposed sanctions on her. So let that sink in. They took sanctions off the legit leader of Al Qaeda in Syria. Not only the leader, the founder of Al Qaeda in Syria. They took sanctions off him. He put on a suit. Trump called him a good boy and put sanctions on her.
He's shaking hands with Macron now.
That's right. So now the United States is officially out in the open in bed with Al Qaeda. Before they used to hide it, and they would fund them clandestinely through the CIA. But now they're doing it right out in the open. Trump's saying nice things about him. He's having meetings with Macron, the leader of France. And he wants to be in business with the Abraham Accords, which means he wants to be in business with Israel.
Oh, does he have Judeo-Christian values?
He must have Judeo-Christian values. The persecution of Francesca Albanese, this is from Chris Hedges. He said the sanctioning by the Trump administration of Francesca Albanese, the United Nations Special Rapporteur, is an ominous harbinger of the end of the rule of international law. Yeah.
Harbinger? What? It's been over. We passed the Hague Invasion Act when Bush was in. Remember, if they ever try to come at our despicable demonic lizard leaders who legalize torture, which is illegal under that, by the way, and our leaders are worse than Netanyahu, they're part of it, we will invade the Hague. It's called the Hague Invasion Act. So no leader can be brought to justice here ever, and that's for 20. It's a harbinger.
So, yes, I didn't realize the word harbinger would be such a lightning rod, but yes, you're correct. the rule of international law has been over for quite a long time. What rule of international law were we abiding by when we invaded Iraq that wasn't attacking us, wasn't a threat? We started a war of aggression, killed 1 million people, and nobody got in trouble for it. Nobody got called in front of the Hague. There's no warrants out for George Bush and Dick Cheney and no Donald Rumsfeld or Condoleezza Rice or anybody. They just got away with it. What about when we did that to Libya? Same thing. Nobody got in trouble for it. What about when we did it to Syria? Same thing. Nobody gets in trouble for any of this. What about when we pulled off a coup in Ukraine and we overthrew their democratically elected government at the Maidan coup? No. So there again, I've been saying this for a long time. Unfortunately, there is no rule of international law. The only rule is that might makes right. And the United States has the biggest military right now, so we make right. And our dollar, for whatever reason, is still it's the reserve currency of the world, and so we get to sanction other countries, which is why there's a thing called BRICS now, which is people coming together to thwart that kind of bullshit. Go ahead.
I hope they can save us from the personal debanking that's going to go on now. The woke is going to be gone, and they're going to do this for Israel reasons now. I hope Putin can save us. Yeah, unbelievable.
So here, I just want to read this to you. If you're questioning what Marco Rubio's disgusting attack on Francesca Albanese is really about, this excellent article, Albanese is standing up to not only war criminal Benjamin Netanyahu, but also the wealthiest globalist scum on earth, who profit from blowing up kids in Gaza. And here's a little piece of it from that article. Her latest report lists 48 corporations and institutions, including Palantir, Lockheed Martin, Google, Amazon, IBM, Caterpillar, Microsoft, MIT, along with banks and financial firms such as BlackRock, insurers, real estate firms, and charities, which, in violation of international law, are making billions from the occupation and the genocide of Palestine. So that was it. Okay, we got to shut her up. Just like they had to shut you up during COVID, they have to shut you up during the protests against Israel. They're going to shut her up now because she crossed so now she's giving legitimacy to that criticism because it's coming from the UN. And so now they have to act like she's the criminal instead of Palantir and IBM and Amazon and all the MIT, which is a CIA cesspool.
Jimmy, did you ever look at the people they've put to try at The Hague as war criminals? It's almost exclusively black Africans. Putin was a real anomaly, and now Netanyahu.
Yeah. So
I'll bet you is really a sticking point that you're going to take me to the International Black People Court.
Yeah.
This is an outrage. I'll bet you.
All right, be honest. Have you noticed yourself moving slower, avoiding stairs, feeling stiff in the morning? Not that kind of stiff. If so, pay attention. The truth is, mobility doesn't just vanish overnight. It's a slow decline. And before you know it, you're the guy making weird noises every time you get off the couch. But by the time you pay those grunts enough attention, it can feel too late, but it doesn't have to be. That's where Juvent comes in. This isn't some gimmick or magic pill. It's a clinically proven device that uses safe, low-impact micro vibrations to strengthen your bones, improve your circulation, and keep your joints working the way they're supposed to. Notice I said micro vibrations. This is nothing like those other shake plates on the market, which, by the way, can be extremely dangerous. I stand by my Juvent for just 20 minutes a day, and it's made a noticeable difference in how I feel. It's like giving your body a tune-up before it completely breaks down. Athletes, doctors, even NASA is using this thing, and if it's good enough for astronauts, it's good enough for a comedian. With a 10-year limited warranty, financing options, and the ability to use FSA funds, it's never been easier. So don't wait until your knees sound like a bowl of Rice Krispies. Get a Juvent today. Go to juvent.com/store and start moving like you're supposed to. That's JUVENT.com/door. code DORE for $300 off at checkout. Your joints will thank you. Trust me. Hey, come see us on tour. We're going to be in Toronto, Red Bank, New Jersey, Northampton, Massachusetts, Concord, New Hampshire, Oxnard, California, Rutherford, New Jersey, New York, Edmonton, Calgary, and Vancouver. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets.